Andrew Tate thinks a father does not need to be around for the child's development. Andrew says it's a fallacy. Bullshit. The evidence is there. For a child, specifically a boy, to grow up and develop fully, there needs to be a male figure in his upbringing that is there more than just once a week. To have the best chances of becoming a mentally stable adult, both sides of the parents should be there almost equally. In the book, The Boy Crisis, it mentions the value of rough and tumble play. It says that fathers are way more likely to take part in rough and tumble play with your child, which basically means just to like throw your kid around and pick him up and throw him in the air and wrestle with him, right? Just play fighting, which makes sense because that type of behavior usually shows itself more in the masculine than the feminine, so it makes sense that the father usually plays this role. It also goes into a bunch of political, societal, and cultural reasons of why this kind of rough and tumble play has been decreasing so much over the past years, where fathers are being forbidden to roughhouse their children because of the more feminine and softer narrative that's being pushed more and more, where the father is being devalued as a parent. Now, what could be the potential outcome, the negative outcome of this kind of behavior of the father? What could be the potential negative of the dad throwing the kid up in the air? The child might get a little bit hurt and experience a little bit of pain. The child could start crying and call for mommy. Then mommy can come and be all in your face. See, I told you so, bitch ass, I fucking told you. And so on, right? And yeah, I mean, it's normal. It's normal for the mother to have that kind of instinctual reaction because, like, maybe I'm stereotyping here, but there's evidence to back that up. Statistics, the moms are usually way more protective of their kids than guys. And if you look in nature, if you have a wild boar or a wild bear, it's the mom that fucks you up if you come too close. The dad is not even there. The dad is fucking hunting or some shit. Right, so yeah, it makes total sense that the mom would have that reaction, and that's good, that's healthy. So the mom, of course, sees this at some point as too far when the dad plays a little rough, and she stops it, right, and it's enough for the day. But this is exactly what's so healthy for the kid. And what the book says, when the child experiences a little pain and starts crying, is such a valuable and needed experience for the kid's development. So when I was a boy, my dad, he abandoned us when I was like 12 or something, right? He dipped. But luckily I grew up with a stepdad, right? Who came from New York, who thankfully was a little rough when it needed be. But let me tell you something, this type of rough and tumble play I had with him, it came from myself, me and my brother. We were looking for it. We used to get thrown around like on the bed by our stepdad. We used to like run at him and he would push us off and like throw us off. We used to wrestle with him. We used to do like arm wrestling with him. We used to wrestle our grandpa. We used to play catch with our stepdad. Kind of aggressive playing, right? This aggressive type of playing. I'm saying aggressive in quotes, right? And let me tell you something. It was amazing. Yeah, sometimes it hurt a little bit, but that's part of growing up. Especially as a boy, that's like part of your development. And as young boys, we loved it. Every second of it, we needed it. We kept coming back for more. Look at chimpanzees. They fight each other, they climb trees, they fall down, they get hurt, they get injured. Daddy throws them around, they get hurt, they run to mommy, right? Now me and my brother, little chimpanzees, were actively looking for this type of interaction with a male masculine figure in our life, and we got it, and it was great. Now if it's so deeply implanted genetically into our roots, then why are we trying to paint a bad narrative on this behavior? Why are we trying to take away this natural part of parenting? And imagine the outrage if we forbid women to take part in their natural part of parenting. The book goes into this concept, this idea of the children that did not take part in this type of play, this type of behavior with their father or their masculine role model. It said the adults who didn't experience this kind of behavior with their dad when they were younger, they didn't seem to be fully in their body. They're so like immobile, they're stiff, they're unagile, they're almost like unsure of their bodies. And this kind of phrase, they didn't seem to be fully in their body, this kind of phrase clicked for me. Like, it sounds a little gamey, but if you can relate, you know exactly what I mean. And it's so true. You can almost see it in some people. You can almost see childhood trauma in some people. And I'm saying it with a giggle, right? But it's actually like it's very, very, very serious. If I can be honest with you guys, a big part of self-improvement and my vision and many other self-improvement channels' visions is to reverse fatherlessness. Fatherlessness is a huge, big ass problem that is, like so many male issues, barely talked about at all. Because it seems a little anti-women and anti-feminist to talk about this kind of stuff. But it's so refreshing and so amazing to consume some kind of content that seems to be on our side. It's so refreshing to read a book that explains the bad side of your life. And after reading this book, it's like, of course this was gonna happen. Like, duh, you removed like half of your parenthood. You removed like half of what makes you an adult. Half of being raised by your parents is tainted by all these factors. There are so many reasons why fatherlessness is a big, big problem. And I think it's a lot of this like cultural, political and societal image that is painted where the father isn't really needed anymore. And men are useless. That in itself is the most toxic, dumbest shit I fucking hear. How are men useless? Men built this shit. Men built societies. Men conquered, men ruled, man. There's a book called Hard Times Create Strong Men. And there's this quote: if you kill the father, you kill the nation. The point of the book was, at some point, what's the most important part of a country? What do you think? It's the family. It is so clear that children raised in a dysfunctional family very often grow up to become dysfunctional criminals themselves. A stable family is basically the most important aspect to secure the future of your country. Making the decisions, leading the nation. How the can this work? How can we be prosperous if the father is more and more being undervalued? How can we make sure we are moving forward, not backwards, if the male part in the relationship is continuously being undermined and drowned out? And whenever you bring up these issues, oh, it's because you're against women. Oh, men face incredibly destructive problems too. Literally nobody gives a fuck. You must hate women. Bringing up these issues isn't to undermine women's issues. It isn't to be misogynistic and go man versus woman. It's to shine light on big issues that, if not resolved, will make us all end up worse. Nobody benefits from removing masculinity from society. And especially men, young men are suffering. They are really suffering. There's a boy crisis going on. I want to tell you something. This month, June, is Males Mental Health Month. You didn't know, did you? No matter if you're a young man, woman, anything, you probably didn't know. It's because nobody gives a f***ing shit. Men are privileged and face no problems in society. This is the picture that is being pushed more and more by extremistic feminized narratives. You might be thinking, oh well, everyone faces mental health issues. You are right. But the fact is, globally, death by suicide occurred about 1.8 times more in men than females. In the Western world, men die by suicide 3 to 4 times more than women. I thought it was double. I thought 1.8. That's globally. Western world, 3 to 4 times. And this greater male frequency is increased after the age of 65. 70% of suicides are men. Depression is more fatal and severe in men. All deaf profession workers are men. Men are 10 times more likely to die on the job. 80% of prison inmates are men. A high majority of crime victims are men. A higher majority of homicide victims are men. Where's the equality here? Societal expectations and pressure is higher on men. Way higher. Think of a deaf profession. A deaf profession is a job or profession where workers are 2 to 3 times more likely to die on the job and 10 times more likely to get seriously injured. For what? They earn about 2 to 3 pounds extra. This is from the UK. Like construction workers, roofers, loggers, men in coal mines, men on oil rigs, fishermen, garbage collectors. Think of all these professions. What do you see? Any deaf profession. You see men. you don't see women. Because about 99.9% of the men fill out these jobs. I could say most men, and it's mainly men, but if women can exaggerate their extremist views on men, like all men are trash, etc., then we can say it's all men. It's all men dying on the job. It's all men killing themselves. Who is coming to their rescue? Who is fighting for equality there? Literally nobody. Why? Why do men work these jobs? For themselves? Not really. It's so that they can bring home a bit of extra money to their family, their wives, their children. Because guess what? That's what men are expected to do, and that's what they do. They risk fatal injuries and dying 3 times more on the job, working themselves to death to earn 3 pounds more so they can take care of their wives and children. Because guess what? That's expected of them. Where is the male empowerment here? Because even if you cling on to this little more feminized narrative that's going on nowadays, a man will still be undervalued and underappreciated if he doesn't do this stuff, if he doesn't take care of his wife and family. You can say women should because this is expected of men, as getting a high-paying job, driving a supercar, having a 10 out of 10 body, being noble and strong, being the one to risk getting stabbed to retrieve a handbag that's been stolen, being high value. The expectations and the pressure put on men by society is higher, way higher than that on women. But nobody acknowledges this. Nobody talks about this. Even though we're getting closer to men sharing their feelings and emotions, the men that share their feelings and emotions often fall behind in life. Often the women who try to strive for this kind of outcome, they create men they're unattracted to, because masculinity attracts femininity. Masculinity needs to be strong, needs to hold it together, needs to be decisive. If there's a feminine woman, she's gonna be repulsed by you crying because you didn't get a fucking Big Mac at McDonald's, alright? It's not the same thing. You can't hold both genders to the same value and the same standards because we tick fundamentally different in our brain. And deep down, we know this. Deep down, everyone knows it. Men have it hard, man. Men have it fucking difficult. All this bullshit of men have an easy life and are privileged. Yes, we are privileged, but you are privileged too. And again, this is not to undermine women's issues. Women's issues are severe and are very worthy of talking about, and they should be talked about, but they are. Men, on the other hand, are left alone to fend for themselves, because as a man, nobody is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. If you are a low-value man, depressed, you know what true loneliness is. There is nobody, not a single soul, especially not on Tinder or in your Instagram DMs. Anyway, the point is, father needs to be there for the child's development. I definitely recommend anyone to read this book, especially people who are unaware of this bigger issue that's showing itself more and more. My name is Jonah, and I help young men become filthy rich masculine playboys through self-improvement. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos, and share this video to a friend if it helped you. If you watched this far, you're an OG. Take care, boys.